Welcome and thanks for joining this session, Introduction to Mindfulness. It's possible you've had some experience with it in the past and you want to refresh. It's possible this was brand new for you, whichever. So we have a very vibrant program here at St. Lucia Law School. As you'll see on the website, we have something for students once a week for half an hour at the noon hour and once a week for staff and faculty. And we're proud of those programs, and we're also open to suggestions for additional programs. And of course, we do a wellness week once or twice a year as well with the mental health and wellness committee of the law school. So today, what I want to do is talk a little bit about mindfulness generally, and then special lawyer mindfulness ideas. Today, we're going to talk about what is mindfulness, its benefits, some examples of informal practice, and some examples of formal practice, and then some things we really need to focus on deeply. So let's get started. So what is mindfulness? Well, mindfulness is the act of paying extremely close attention, the practice and state of securing and maintaining moment by moment awareness, a practice of greater awareness of the present with less self-judgment and judgment of others. Now, less judgment is a really crucial piece in mindfulness because a great deal of mindfulness is about noticing and observation. And it starts with noticing and observation of our own conduct and how we act and what presses this button, what presses that button, when we're good, when we're more careful listeners, when we're not, when we tend to daydream, all those kinds of notions. Now, as we notice those things about ourselves, we're going to notice things that we like and things we don't like. Now, the notion is that wisdom and insight comes from noticing and observing, and that noticing and observing is much more successful when we pour in the self-love and the self-compassion and dial down the self-judgment so that we can watch ourselves. We can almost like stand on our shoulder and watch ourselves in terms of how we act and how we think. Or maybe somebody's standing in a tree over there watching it. We're kind of watching ourselves. And if we watch ourselves with self-love and self-compassion and with the minimum of self-judgment, then we're going to learn a great deal more, because what we're really trying to do is train the brain. Look, I've acted this way for a long, long time. My brain thinks it knows how I want to act. Just like my phone or my car, my MapQuest thinks I know where I want to go next. And often that's true, and it's hopeful. Lots of times it's not true, and it's not helpful, and it might even be harmful. And that's the same exact notion with this one, that we don't want to be on automatic pilot as much as we are. We need to be on automatic pilot a certain amount because our brain can only handle a certain number of things at one time. So some habits make sense, and all habits are hard to change, and we need to go at this a little bit at a time. So it's a lot less self-judgment, more noticing, more self-love and self-compassion. And as I'm presenting this in early March 2022, the wonderful Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh has just recently died. And so one of the things that Thich Nhat Hanh stands for, among many, is an enhancement and increase of loving kindness towards ourselves, towards our family and friends we know well, to the attendant at the grocery store that we don't know well, and to people who are suffering everywhere, and maybe even to the people who don't wish us well, if we can get to that. Loving kindness is a central tenet at every level. Now, mindfulness is also in many ways about making the world a better place. Okay, so what are some of the benefits of mindfulness? Reduce stress. Mindfulness, one thing I should say is many of us need therapy and medication as well as mindfulness. For some of us, mindfulness is enough. For others, it's mixed with medication and therapy, and they're great partners. Whatever, you'll find your own fit. Most important thing is, if you do observe something about your conduct that is really horrific for you and really scary, then probably mindfulness should be supplemented with therapy or with medication. So you want to talk to a professional about it. So reduce stress. Mindfulness for example, can help us deal with anxiety. It's a way of looking at ourselves, understanding one of the things that we say about anxiety and other important emotions like that. Mindfulness and meditation, the analogy that somebody gave, I don't know if it was Tick or Jocko Beck, another person whose book I read, but basically mindfulness, both formal and informal practice, is like starting a fire and getting the logs really hot, and then putting a pot of boiling water on top of the fire and getting that water really hot. That's not boiling in the first place, and then putting potatoes into it. And you know how potatoes take a long time to soften and be good to eat. That's sort of how we treat anxiety and anger and sadness and whatnot. That with a mindfulness practice over time, we can soften those so that I might say, anxiety, you're with me. You're my partner forever. Not that happy about it, but I'm not going to tense in and I'm not going to fight you. I'm going to understand you're there. And I'm going to hope that a mindfulness practice will help soften you and allow me to. So reduce stress is one, better focus. Central tenet of mindfulness is being present more often. The notion is that, a lot of times the reason we're not present is because we're planning something in our mind. I've got a train to catch. I've got a person to meet. I've got a meeting I got to plan for. That's all good, productive thinking. But a huge amount of time, once I start paying attention to my mind, I see how much daydreaming I'm doing, how much I'm worrying about things. And I begin to see all of that. And one of the wake-up calls for mindfulness is, hey, be present. Whether you're brushing your teeth or washing the dishes or emptying the dishwasher or eating a section of a tangerine, take a second. Don't stuff that next section of the tangerine in your mouth without eating and enjoying the first section. Stop fighting emptying the dishwasher and being mad at the other people for not emptying it. Take a breath. What's life about? If you're constantly worrying about what's next and being unhappy with what you're doing, you're not going to be in a very good place. So enhance focus, improve flow is a good one. Next one we call is 10% Happier. There's a book called 10% Happier, written by a guy named Dan Harris, a TV personality some years ago. It's a very wonderful book to start with mindfulness. And basically what it did for him was make him 10% happier. So it can help do it for all of us. Another one is stronger resilience in the face of life's challenges. We know all the time, but as I'm writing this now, we're finally getting closer to the end of COVID. We got a new war in Ukraine, and within the week we had it. So always things coming up, and we need resilience. Resilience is one of the most important pieces that we can have. Mindfulness can help strengthen that resilience, can help us strengthen that resilience. So another one is better relationships. For example, mindful listening is a notion of being present when someone's speaking with us and really paying attention not only to the words they're saying, but what they're trying to convey, knowing that with your eyes and your body, and really instead of just daydreaming, thinking about what you're going to do next, thinking about what you're going to say next, letting the ego kind of take over, letting the impatience ruin your opportunity to learn from this person. Mindfulness, by bringing us present in those situations, enhances and creates better relationships, and it's better for our health. So mindfulness has two kinds of practices, formal and informal. We'll talk about the formal in a minute. Those are the ones that we think about the most, meditation and whatnot. And that's great. I hope you can get to start with 2 minutes a day and then get more and more perhaps. And that's wonderful, but no matter how many minutes a day, you're probably not going to do it 10 hours a day on a regular basis. There's all the rest of the hours. So mindfulness has developed a wonderful notion of informal practice. For example, you're waiting for a friend who's often late and your tension is just growing and growing. Mindfulness teaches us to take a breath, to notice what's happening, seeing that's not helpful. Maybe we decide to the friend, hey, if you're not going to be on time, I'm not going to meet you. That's a productive activity. But simply steaming about it and getting upset. So we learn to breathe. We learn to take a breath. We learn to step back. Same thing in the line at the grocery store. I picked the wrong line. I thought this was the right line, and now it turns out somebody needs a scan check or they need to call the manager. It's a wrong line. Nothing's going to make me get out faster. And what's the point of me getting more and more upset about it? Those are really wonderful opportunities for learning. Somebody cuts me off in traffic, and I realize I was in a great mood before it happened. And now they cut me off, and now I'm in a terrible mood. They didn't create the terrible mood. They did something they shouldn't have done. They cut me off, and I don't think that's right. I'm never going to think it's right. On the other hand, I don't need to get out of that mood that I was in before. That's my choice. And if I can learn how that's happening to me, then perhaps I can recognize that situation and learn to create a little different instinct so that when that happens, I can say, realistically, I'm mad. This was really wrong. On the other hand, I don't need to let it control me in the way that it did. So that's a key part. Now, one of the things that I said was that I am mad. Mindfulness is not about pretending. It's not about stuffing those emotions. No, but recognizing that this is a hard world for most of us. And if only time we're going to be happy is when things are going great, probably not that great percentage of the time. So recognizing that a lot of the time, things are going to not go well for me or for friends and family. And also recognizing that that doesn't have to destroy my opportunity to be happy as well. That's a key aspect of mindfulness and something I hope you'll learn over time. So it's about being realistic, and it's about feeling our emotions. One of the key parts of mindfulness is making us aware of our body. And when we're sad, we should recognize we're sad. Notice where in our body we're feeling the sadness. Helps make it even more clear, or angry, or anxious, or whatever it is. Body is a great communicator if we'll pay attention to it. So those are few examples of the many examples of the informal mindfulness practice. As I said, mindful listening, the senses are a huge thing. So the weather's warm today. Pretty soon it'll be spring. It's a wonderful opportunity to breathe in. And when I take that walk from Metrolink to office or home or car to home or whatever it is, doesn't have to be a walk in the woods. It's great if it is. And if it's not, I can still pay attention to the birds chirping, pay attention to the beautiful cloud formations. If I'm lucky enough to see a sunrise and sunset, pause a moment, just really breathe that in. Next time I listen to beautiful music, just really get the benefit of the enhancement to my soul as a result of that music. So paying more attention to what the senses tell us. I mentioned the clementine before, whether it's a clementine or a peanut M&M or a blueberry, whatever it is that we like the taste of. Take a moment while we're tasting it and let it really sink in. So that's some ideas of informal practices. Formal practices, I want to just go over a couple of them for a minute. We do lots of breath meditations. One of the nice things about a breath meditation is it can be 30 seconds or it can be a lot longer. So the notion is, and I'll ask you for, it's simply just, now for the next few seconds, I'm going to sound the chime here. And now please pay attention to your breath. Don't change it at all. Just notice the inhale and the exhale. Don't try to go faster or slower or judge your breath. This is just observation, pure observation. It's bringing in some oxygen, that's for sure. Now notice on the inhale, if you notice a little bit of a uplift in your particularly upper half of your body. Let's see if you can notice the nourishment, the feeling of nourishment that comes in. After all, that's what the breath is for, to bring into our body things we need. Now pay attention a little bit to the exhale. Notice to see if you can feel any grounding into the seat or the arms or the armchair or the feet on the ground. Maybe exaggerate that a little bit. Sometimes it might be worthwhile to see if you can exhale something else you don't want to carry with you the rest of the day or night. Maybe a headache, maybe a worry you can't do anything about. Maybe exhale a little bit harder and get rid of it, or reduce it in scope if you can do that. And on the inhale, as you notice that nourishment, see if you can take it to places that you need extra need TLC, maybe the heart, maybe the head, maybe a tight shoulders, whatever it is. So anytime you want, you can pause and you can take a breath meditation. One of the neat things about the breath meditation and focusing on the breath is it really reconnects our body, our mind with our body. Next one is a body scan, where you basically what you do is you start to notice your toes and your head and your arms, and can start on your fingers and go up your arms, wherever it might be. I love, if you exercise at all, a wonderful time to do a body scan is when you're exercising, whether you're swimming or maybe doing downward dog posture or anything like that. Just notice the tension of your muscles. Just notice what feels what. Observation and noticing is a key. A loving kindness meditation is just a wonderful, wonderful notion. What you do basically is we'll do it a little bit, one right here. So I'm going to say some words. I wish myself good health. I wish myself happiness. I wish myself ease of life. And I say that over a few more times. Then I wish it to my neighbor, my friend, my loved one. Then I wish it to people I see occasionally, like a neighbor who I don't see very often, or the clerk at the grocery store, or the man or woman at the security desk. And finally, not finally, but the next one is to people who are suffering. I think of people maybe at the border or people in my hometown that are homeless. And then if I'm really in the right mood, maybe I can wish it to people who don't wish me well, aren't treating me well. I'm not forgiving them, not pretending I don't like them. I like them. Just trying to see if I can breathe that in myself a little bit. Key piece is focus, 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 present, present, present. The science is out there. You can read it yourself. There's tons of recent neuroscience research. It seems to say that the Buddhist monks that spend a lot of time meditating sure have different kinds of brains and maybe greater health and greater mental health. There's signs that folks like us who can establish a habit of meditating for 10 or 15 minutes most days, get real brain benefits and brain change. Lots of resources out there. I mentioned 10% Happier. I love insighttimer.com, INSAGHT.timer, TIMER.com, because it's free and it has zillions of meditations. You can start with some talking, some not. There's a course called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. That is sort of the Cadillac of the group. There's many online courses as well. There's lots and lots and lots of books and websites. So my name is David Lander. I'm at St. Lucie Law School. I'm an adjunct professor and professor of practice. Please feel free to email me at landerd@slu.edu. Any questions, comments, and I guess my suggestion would be see if you can once or twice a week, take a couple of minutes and just breathe. A lot of people like Native American flute music or other kinds of music to meditate to. Others, like me, like silence. Everybody's entitled to their own way of doing it. You'll find yours over time. So thanks and good luck, and I hope this is helpful. Bye-bye.